remodel more stations, and then also purchase more fire apparatus as we need them. The last time we went out for a bond was in 2006, and that bond paid for the current station we're in right now, along with many others. So that's kind of the latest news with us. We're still dealing with COVID. We haven't seen a sharp increase in firefighters getting sick, but we do have lots of PPE. I found that my badge is handy for hanging my mask that we wear in our station still. And then of course we wear a little bit more robust masks when we go out on calls. So I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I'm glad that NACs are getting started, even though I'm not used to the Zoom format. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Is there enough money in your budget for a camera?
For a camera for what? For the Zoom?
Yeah.
We have this fancy TV, and I don't know. I think it might be operator area. Let me see if that.
Oh, there you are.
We have a fancy TV, and I thought you guys could see me, but you could just hear me. So sorry about that. That was user error on my part. So here's my mask holder. I got a nice badge, and then I can just hang my mask right there.
That's cool. Looks kind of empty there tonight.
Yeah, the guys are cleaning up after dinner, so I'm in the front office. This is where we spend a lot of our time, just doing charts and things like that. So we started using Zoom a lot because we were restricted on the amount of multi-company training that we could do. And so they bought us these nice, you can't see it, but it's a very nice full screen TV that we can interact with.
Cool. I mean, you get to watch movies also?
No, it doesn't. We've tried it. It doesn't work so well for that.
Well, what's happening in the neighborhood in the last couple months? Is there any fires or heart attacks or anything like that?
Well, we've run our normal amount of medical calls. I wouldn't say there's been any increased activities. We haven't had a fire. We don't like to talk and say there hasn't been fires a lot, because then that means that there might be a fire tonight. If I tell you if there hasn't been a fire in a long time, we can be a little suspicious about that. But yeah, it's been pretty much normal. When the pandemic first started, we were kind of bracing for a huge increase in calls. And then with the lockdown, that didn't happen. We kind of had it kind of slowed for a little bit, but since then, in the past year or so, we've started just to get back to our previous numbers of calls. So I would say we're pretty comparable to what we were before the pandemic. We've figured out what's working for our personal protective equipment. We wear N95s on every medical call. We wear simple masks, like the paper masks in the station. And of course, going out into public because they're required. But when it first started, we were wearing kind of hazmat suits and had full face respirators. And we've kind of, they've relaxed the protocol now, where we can wear a regular duty uniform and then only don the really heavy protection if we know we're going to somebody who's COVID positive. So just N95s and regular uniforms for most calls is what we're going on now. And then of course our fire response gear for that stuff.
Well, for our specific neighborhood, are you still rolling that paramedic van down there right off of the Beaverton Hillsdale Highway?
Yes, that's still there. It's there for 12 hours in the West Slope area on Laurelwood and BHH. Yeah. And then the second 12 hours, it goes down to the Progress station, because they can't, and with that station where they're at right now, where they may have the calls for a 24-hour unit there, they are not allowed to spend the night in that occupancy. That was part of the lease when they signed on. So nobody can sleep there. So they can be there for 12 hours and then they go down to Progress for 12 hours. Well, they have a bunk room down there and they run calls there, and then they're back up at 7 a.m. again. So it's still staffed for 12 hours of the day with 2 people. And then in the 12 hours in the evening, it goes down to, and is an extra unit down at Progress. But it's there 7 days a week. Before, when it was a 10-hour unit, it was not there on Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays. And so now it's there for 7 days a week. So we got a little more coverage there than we did before.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Lieutenant Rogerson?
Thank you all. Hopefully I'll see you up in the library again in person sometime in the near future. And until then, we'll see you on Zoom.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So the BPD guy got called off on a call. So let's have Terry Lawler give us a BCCI update.
Okay, I can be very brief. We had a meeting this past Monday, and it was actually an in-person meeting. But because I have a bad cold and I still have a cold, I didn't go. But so I missed the Christmas party. But there, I think of note on the agenda was a member of the Beaverton Visioning Committee who introduced their initiative for 2022 to conduct a new visioning outreach. And visioning, if you are familiar with it, it's actually a committee of the city, and their job is to identify a punch list of to-do items for the city. And these are community generated information. This could be, they're going to assemble a focus group to try to identify like a punch list of ideas for improvements in the city. And it's a very important document because it ends up being adopted. And then there are budget items that are, they pay for it, these to implement some of these visioning goals. And so it's an important process, and they're going to be, as many of the programs in the city, they're trying to identify previously marginalized populations within the city where they haven't really had a voice in some of these programs and ideas. And so it's going to try to be a very broad-based approach. And they came to BCCI to ask them for advice on how to contact, how to get a hold of some of these more difficult to reach communities. And so that was a presentation that I got a PowerPoint on. So otherwise, the meeting was voting for officers. So that was it for BCCI in December.
Wouldn't most of the people that we're having a hard time get a hold of live in apartment complexes?
Renters are a notoriously difficult group. And there may be some folks who come from other backgrounds where, interacting with your government is a scary thing. And so they are oftentimes, they don't feel comfortable coming to some of these meetings. A lot of times people are working, in the evening, and so they don't have an opportunity to come to regular meetings, neighborhood meetings, etc. So for all of those reasons, they're difficult to get a hold of. A lot of times, though, they find that through the schools, the Beaverton schools in particular, they're able to kind of outreach. And so I think that's going to be a way that they will try to get a hold of some of these communities to get some involvement through their kids. So.
Cool. All right. And while you're still here, this is Terry Lawler. She's a board member, and
yes.
She's our BCCI rep.
Yes.
My name is Carl Tebbe. I'm the chair for the evening for this meeting. And I was wondering how many other board members are on board tonight. I see Dieter, and I see Kent Slack on my list.
Yes, you do.
And I don't see Chris Swenson. He shows up late typically. And Joe Whittington. I'm sure he's hiking in a big mountain over in the Himalayas right now, so he probably won't be available. And yeah, what about Jerry Denton? We haven't seen him in a long time, but he still puts out his sign, which is appreciated. Thank you, Jerry, in case you're tuning in on radio. And then Ken Wolfgang, man, the guy disappeared a year ago, and he's got all our money. I want to kick him out. Seriously, I'm not kidding. He's got the treasury, and he has not reported to our group in a long, long time. I don't know what his gig is. He still walks his little dog out in front of my house a couple times a week, so I know he's still alive. So it'd be nice if we could get rid of him, so it'd be easier to get a quorum. Because so that would mean we'd be without a treasurer and without a recorder due to Jack's retirement 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I want to hear the treasurer's report, and I want more involvement, but apparently it's hard to do on this format. Let's put it that way, and get people more involved. I know where Jerry lives. I'd be happy to go stop by and say hello to him and his wife and see what's up. Like I said, he's still putting the signs out, but any other suggestions would be most welcome.
Well, Carl, maybe somebody here would like to be treasurer, if you want to ask.
Be like what?
Somebody who's attending this meeting may want to take over the treasurer's position.
Oh. Yeah. You could be the treasurer instead of the vice chair. Oh, Kent's gone already. Yeah.
I'm not gone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
I can't see me.
Nope.
I can't see anybody now.
The Slack couch camera is not working right now.
That's all right. I can't even see your pretty face. Why can't I not see your face? Oh, whatever. Don't worry about that.
Santa's here. All right. All right. Well, I'm just throwing that out there because it is getting to be kind of an old situation. All right. Okay. So, wow. Okay. So the participant thing over here shows most mics being off, some cameras being on. Elena, can you still hear me? Okay, well, you're up next with a report from the city of Beaverton.
Okay, so there's a couple things. The first thing is it's time to celebrate. Beaverton Winter Lights is here December 4th through January 6th at special locations throughout the city for community enjoyment. And the light displays are open nightly from 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. And the locations include Candy Cane Lane and the Grove at City Park and the round near City Hall. We appreciate your understanding and ask that you wear a face covering and remain socially distanced while enjoying the displays. And additional information and opportunities will be posted on the website, which I will send in the chat after everything, and on social media, so please check back for updates. The second thing is website redesign survey is underway. We need your feedback as we proceed with a redesign of our website. Take a brief 5-minute survey to tell us your experience and preferences. We're interested in learning more about the community thoughts before we begin assessing accessibility, organization, layout, and more. And there's a survey link as well that I will send. The website redesign will help modernize the existing site with the latest software and technology. It's also an opportunity to support an updated design, better accessibility and organization, modern features, improved search functions, and better user experiences, including for those on mobile devices. The city's website is one of the most used and important tools of sharing information and engaging with our community. And the new website is expected to launch in 2022. And the last thing is avoid the next COVID-19 surge. Last year, our holiday gatherings looked very different from what we were used to. This winter, we can enjoy gatherings with our friends and family if we take precautions to prevent further spread. Encourage masking when indoors and vaccination for all eligible populations, including boosters and third doses. Booster shots are now endorsed for everyone over the age of 18, and pediatric vaccines are available for children aged 5 to 11. In partnership with Virginia Garcia, the county's vaccine team recently staffed a clinic for the Beaverton School District where 570 doses were administered, the majority to 5 to 11-year-olds. The county's mobile team continues to provide small clinics at a variety of locations focused on underserved populations. Help us share news about vaccination events and information on the county's website. After 3 months of being in high-risk community transmission, we do have good news to share. Our level of community transmission in Washington County lowered to substantial, and hospitalizations and test positivity continue to decrease. As encouraging as this is, we are still identifying new cases, and COVID-19 is still in our communities. Stay healthy and safe this winter. And just a quick reminder that we are still open. The city of Beaverton is providing a combination of remote and virtual and limited on-site services to the public. And you can visit our website for current hours and operations. And I can send all of the links in the chat.
Question
Nice
for
work,
you.
Elena.
How long is that web survey live? Is it closing soon?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they have started with the process of renewing the website yet. I think it's in the process of getting the word out and getting like opinions from the public for what we should do. So I think it should be open for a little bit longer.
Okay, okay. Thanks.
Nice job, Elena.
Thank you.
You know, speaking of booster shots, who's got one? I finally got a appointment myself down at the Safeway on Beaverton Hillsdale Highway, but not till January 4th. And I've asked a couple times when I've been down there doing my regular shopping if I could just do a walk-on, and they said no, we don't have the staffing, unfortunately. How about you?
I've got one.
Well, of course, because you're a teacher.
Darn right I'm a teacher.
Terry
I've
got
had
one.
mine.
Yeah, because you work for the government.
I am retired and I was able to just make an appointment
Okay.
on Sunday morning.
I just want my booster, man. I got the other 2 shots. Interesting.
Some places are doing them Rite Aid. You can get it at 3 in the morning. You know, there's no waiting at 3 in the morning.
What a fantastic time that would be.
Hey, if you really want to get one fast, that's the way to do it.
No, I just rather avoid people, to tell you the truth. Okay. Okay. Elena, while you got a chance, can you shut off the station 65 Zoom in the middle so we can get somebody else on the stream, because they're gone. Oh, never mind. There he is. Oh, yeah, never mind. I thought he was dead. All right. So he was enjoying our meeting. That's fine. Oh, well. All right. So is Juan Carlos Gonzalez around yet? Or Victor Sin? Okay. Huh. All right. Is Nicole Paulsen still there?
I am here, yes.
There she is.
Let me get my video on here.
And Liana also, right?
Yep, Liana is here as well.
Excellent.
There we go. Hi, everybody.
Hi. How come it's so sunny in your backyard?
I wish that was my backyard. It's a little chilly over here.
Well, this is Nicole, correct?
Yes,
From
and I'm
THPRD.
Yep. So I'm Nicole with Tollton Hills Park and Rec District, and I have Liana with me as well. And I'm actually going to let Liana start And we're here to talk about the new park off of Pointer Road that is right in the neighborhood.
Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Liana. I also work for Todd Hills Park and Recreation District. I work in community engagement, and we also have Holly Thompson with us here too. She's in disguise with Nicole. She actually is under Nicole Paulsen's name, but she is here at the meeting. So she is our director of communications. And she is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to answering questions about everything from engagement to communications and so much more. So she's with us to help. Oh, there she is. Hey, Holly. So she's here as well to help, to help answer any questions. So what I thought I would do, if it's okay with you all, what I'd like to do is share my screen. I've got just a really short, just a few slides, PowerPoint to share with you all. And then I'll turn it over to Nicole. Would that be okay if I shared my screen?
Sure.
Excellent. All right. Now, can I do it successfully is the next question. Let's see how I do.
That works.
All right. Okay. Again, so I work, like I said, I work in community engagement. Specifically, I work in design and development for supporting community engagement. I also help nature and trails. I support our planning department and much more. I work alongside Nicole and other project managers to help support them through the community engagement process. And then Holly oversees all of community engagement and communications at THPRD. So we all work together as a team to put on community engagement to get these projects started. So when we start community engagement at THPRD, we start with really planning, like a lot of planning. And when I say planning, I don't mean planning the park. I mean planning the outreach process, like who we're going to talk to in terms of partners. That's like really big picture. And I know I've gotten a couple questions, especially from Carl and a few of you really interested in knowing what is the engagement timeline for this process and for this park. And so just to give you a heads up, like right now, December through February, we are really thinking kind of big picture. What is outreach going to look like? Who are we going to partner with? And what's the plan? So that's where we are right now. But soon, when we get to the spring, when we get to around March or April, oh, I say I've got those inverted, but around April or March, we're going to have a virtual community meeting. And that's really introductory. That's when we kick off community engagement for this park and for this upcoming park. And what we do there is it's really simple community engagement process for that. We reach out through to neighbors through postcards. We always engage the NAC when we have those meetings. And we always post a recording. We try to always post a recording online so that people who might miss that meeting can go back online and watch that meeting and get all the information about that project. And that meeting is about sharing. It's really a presentation to share, like, what are the site conditions? What are the limitations of that site? Where is the site? And looking ahead. And then the next thing we do is we have a community event. We often hold a large community event. And for this particular project, we're looking probably April through May. And to be sure, everything I'm sharing here is not like a really, we don't do the exact same type of outreach for every single project. It looks different for every project. When we have a smaller project, that outreach looks a little bit smaller. When we have a great big park, like a community park, like a huge park, then that outreach looks a little bit bigger. And so this is really tailored to neighborhood park. So yeah, we work in setting up a community event, and I'll talk a little bit more about these community events. But we do a community event. We usually couple that with a survey to get to know more from the neighborhood. And then once we get a lot of information from that first community event, that information might look like themes for the park, different types of activities people want to do for the park, and we workshop that information. Then we come back to the community again. We do another community engagement event, and that is again like another design workshop. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those again. But we're looking August through September roughly for that one. And then once we have all of the amazing information from the neighborhood to put together a preliminary concept plan, then we come back to the community And this is where, again, we often work closely with the NAC to hold a virtual community meeting. We couple that with a survey. And again, we try to post that recording online. So anybody who wasn't able to come to that meeting or see it live, they're able to watch it later. So it's just a very rough overview of kind of the process that we look at. And then I was going to tell you a little bit more about these community engagement events, because they're really important to this process. So when we look at community engagement events, they're really about bringing fun, free activities for all ages in a big event where people can really come and enjoy themselves and have fun. And then in order to put on these events, we work with local partners. So in this case, you can see we worked with the city of Beaverton. Well, actually, let me back up. Because I should talk about this first photo. So when we have these events, we try to make them really fun for the neighborhood. So if you're familiar with the movie Frozen, this was an event we did that was called Frozen in the Heat. So we have Frozen characters come out, they dance with kids, they hand out popsicles, and it's really fun for families to come out. And usually there's music or a DJ. And then we also, again, when we work with partners, we have different partners come out to those events and talk about whatever it is that they're trying to promote in that moment. So in this case, you can see here, we have the city of Beaverton, and they really bought into this Frozen in the Heat theme. They brought like these wands, and they said, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you have in parking? They were getting feedback on parking. So it was really an opportunity for them to engage the community and really buy into that theme. And they were a really incredible partner for that event. But then we had all kinds of other fun, free activities at that event, free giveaways. And then finally, it's an opportunity for us to have a design workshop too. So we're bringing people in to have this fun, free activities and giveaways for all ages. We're partnering with other organizations and agencies, and then we're holding a design workshop. So this could be potentially a really amazing opportunity to partner with you all, like if to co-produce an event, to have you all come and table, to promote the NAC, to tie into this work that we're doing. So I think there are a lot of opportunities there for us to talk about. So really the intent of these community events is to get as much quality input as possible. It's really about having that meaningful engagement with the local neighborhood and getting that input. So we can have, those events can happen at a number of different types of locations. Sometimes we have them at our existing parks. We've had them at schools, which has been amazing. So that can look like a lot of different things. And we're still in the planning stages there. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that when we do community outreach, we have so many different ways that we reach out to people. We reach out to people through our website, through videos, mailers, social media. We have lots of networks and partners, just like you all, different NACs that we work with to get the word out. And so, and then I also added nearby events and locations, because sometimes we'll go to table at local libraries or school events. So there's so many different ways that we reach out to people. And ultimately, the intent there is to really create some equity building outreach, really pull everybody in a neighborhood into having fun and planning a park together and making that engagement really meaningful. So I'm going to pause there because I feel like I've thrown a lot of information out at you all. I'm going to see if there are any questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Nicole. Any questions about the community engagement process?
Yeah, how does anybody engage at that park without any access?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question for me?
How does anybody engage about the park planning process if they have no access?
No access to the park.
Yes, there's no access currently. You guys are still
Right.
working on easement questions big time.
No
one can park there. No one can access it without walking. Only the people that live next door, which is what's going on right now, are going to have the input. All three people whose houses are in your easement way. There's no way for the rest of the neighborhood to access it because A, there is no parking, or B, specifically, there's no handicap parking, and C, there is no access for emergency vehicles. So how would you conduct a fun planning thing if no one can go there?
So that's a great question. But in this case, we would not likely have that event at that site for a lot of reasons. One, as you mentioned, there's no parking there. Two, it's not necessarily safe, right? It's not graded. There are a lot of reasons we wouldn't have that event on that site. Now, when I say that we have events, these events at parks, for example, when we were designing a park down on Southwest Lombard, one of the nearby parks is very close. It's Wonderland Park. So we had the event there, and it was within that same neighborhood radius of the park that's going into Lombard. That's one example of a place we've had those kinds of events. Another example of the kind of places we've had those events is local schools. So a local school is a great place to engage family members around the community and all ages. So we've had those at local schools, but typically we wouldn't have these on the site unless there was already an existing park there. Does that answer your question?
Not really.
So maybe you can clarify for me.
You just said the grading needed to be done. You guys have had that property for 12 years now, and why hasn't the grading been completed? And why wasn't any money whatsoever put into it?
Carl, I think your question is really, your first original question was, how do you do outreach to the neighbors in the area about a site that's under development? And as Lliana said, we typically, when we have a property that hasn't been developed yet, we do it at a community gathering location nearby. So
which would be in our neighborhood. The reason that that property was bought, because we have no park in this whole, in all of West Slope. We've got this dinky little thing you guys call a park up by the West Sylvan Middle School, which consists of a swing and 2 tennis courts, and that's it. So
well, what a great opportunity to talk about what we want this property to be.
well, we've been talking about it for 12 years, ma'am.
And now's the time. I mean, we're here, we're talking to y'all, we're planning the community engagement process.
You're giving me the same thing about, oh yeah, we'll have a meeting and we're gonna have it, but you're not even gonna have the meeting on the property. I mean, how do people know what they want unless they even get a chance to walk around it? And they can't walk around it because you can't park there. There's no way to access it because, okay, let's put this for instance. There is a walk around scheduled for Monday at 11 a.m. by my friend Ken Slack. That was going to consist of, I think it was Nicole and Liana, and it's only consisting of 3 of the property owners that directly abut that property who have easement issues, which you guys are trying to solve. And it's taking quite a while, but there are at least 15 or 20 other houses that abut that property, and none of those people have been involved or invited to be part of this planning process.
So I think you've raised a lot of issues, a lot of the historical stuff. This isn't the proper forum to talk about that. The purpose of this presentation and the discussion is, what are we going to do for community engagement for the development of the site? And as Lliana said, when we have a property that isn't developed yet, that isn't ready to welcome people on site yet, we typically pick a gathering location that's nearby, such as an elementary school. We could do a block party. We could work with your NAC to identify a great location where you think we'll be gathering and we'll get people. And we do a lot of attraction and have activities to pull people in, like bringing food, bringing music, bringing entertainment. When you asked, how do you get people's input if you're not on site? Well, we do it really effectively. We have pictures of the property, we'll have exercises, we'll have interactive activities. We have our wonderful visioning that we did, where we heard a lot of information about what people want for their neighborhood parks. So we have tools to start that conversation, to really get their input, to refine on this site, what would they like to see. We did this same exercise recently, as Lliana was talking about, for a property being developed off of Lombard, and had 300 and almost 50 people there, had wonderful cross-cultural representation. Half the participants were Spanish speakers. We are really excited to do a deep dive with your NAC. You're welcome to participate as much as you want to help think about the conversation that Terry brought up earlier. Who's missing? Who in your neighborhood have you not been able to engage to maybe come to a NAC meeting or to get more involved in neighborhood issues? And we're really interested in helping fill those gaps and thinking about what are the neighbors what would entice them to come out to talk about park design, and how do we have activities that interest them. Some of the other things we've done in the past, we've done gift certificates to local restaurants and done $10 giveaways. So we can help the local business community and the local restaurants or food carts or anything in your area. And people really get interested in participating in the process and getting that gift back for their participation at the end. So, you know, we know how to get people in, we know how to get them in.
No, you're really not familiar with our area at all. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt.
Actually, I am really.
We have no access. And we have, the only place we have, pardon me, is West Sylvan Middle School. And we used to meet there monthly, but we can't meet there right now because of COVID. They won't let us meet, and we don't want to meet. So you're talking about having a meeting somewhere miles away. I didn't even go to the picnic in the park last year because there wasn't one with the mayor of Beaverton. We used to do it down at, Terry, help me out. What's the name of the park down there off Denny?
Can't remember, it's off Marjorie Lane or something like that. Field Park.
That was the old place we used to meet with the city. And typically we would set up our table and have our tent, and the people would show up, zero. And because no one from our neighborhood wanted to go there, and no one in our neighborhood wants to go to some place where they're going to give away chits for a free meal. They want to know what's going on with the park.
Well,
Sorry, I'm just being honest.
Well, I think you're putting up a lot of roadblocks, and I think what we're trying to say.
Hey, wait a minute. The roadblocks are you can't even get to the park.
I mean, Carl, what do you want? We're here. We're trying to talk park design. We're trying to talk about what we're willing to do to help get your neighbors interested to come out and talk. If you have a location that you want to have the event in your neighborhood, let us know. We've done block parties before, so we can get a permit from the city. We can identify a couple of streets in the neighborhood, and we can locate an activity there. And it really is meant to be a neighborhood pool. It's meant to get the neighbors in the immediate area thinking and energized about the amenities that they want at that park. That's what we're going to do. And I hope that you're interested in helping us. And I hope that you bring energy to help make your neighbors want to engage. That's what we're here to do for you.
Okay, well, you can get the neighbors engaged by getting access to the park straightened out.
Well, it sounds like what they're really talking about is an event to get people interested in planning for the park. And I think obviously in our neighborhood, that is a very sensitive topic because we do want to have it in our neighborhood. Sounds like from what I'm hearing, you know, we could have it on a bunch of concrete. It doesn't have to be in a green area. We could have it in a parking lot, for example, is what I think I'm hearing from you. It could be on a street block or something. And I think we could maybe we could work with West Sylvan School because they got a big parking lot there. And that may be an opportunity. There are other opportunities, but that's one. And so
if you wanted to maybe talk with us offline, I would be happy to meet with you out there on site, and Liana can join us as well. And we could do a little site tour of the neighborhood and come up with a couple of different locations of where we would suggest pulling off an event and the type of activities that we could imagine there, given the site conditions. and maybe have you come back to the NAC and kind of report back in on the possibilities that we saw for where to site an event. Would you be-
That sounds like a good idea, doesn't it, Carl? Do a little reconnaissance work.
Liana and I would be happy to work with you, Terry, on that.
Okay, all right, good.
Okay, Nicole, did you?
And then, yeah, I'll just jump in at the end. I just have a short, small piece. I wanted to introduce myself, Nicole Paulsen. I'm the project manager, the project lead on the actual planning, the design, and then future construction of the park. So Liana is and Holly are being the lead on the community engagement part, and then I take over more of the design and boots on the ground, getting the park built once we have, and working with our design team to come up with some of those concepts from the information that we hear from out of our community engagement process.
3 more years, correct?
So yeah, so just schedule wise, typically it does take about 36 to 42 months for a complete project, which would look at having construction in 2025. I know that sounds like a long time from now. It is almost 2022.
Construction of what?
I'm sorry, what was that, Carl?
Construction of what?
Construction
What are
of
you
the
gonna build? Buildings? There's gonna be a restroom there, even if there's no parking?
Well, similar to Carl, when you were mentioning the site being graded, that's all the construction process and what we go through. So we would construct whether that looks, whatever amenities the community decides to incorporate into the park that we determine a concept plan for. That could look like pathways. It could look like play. These are just different amenities that could be in a neighborhood park, nothing specifically confirmed for this location, but that could look like a play equipment. That's all takes construction and grading. So when I talk about construction, that's what I'm referring to.
Well,
And that would be done in 2025.
the previous
Between
owner
that
was
process,
supposed to
so
take care of it.
prior to
I just don't know
2025,
anything about
we
this.
would, once we get our concept of the plan that we want to have for that particular site, we would then work with the city of Beaverton and any other local jurisdiction and agencies to go through all permitting and code requirements to make sure that we're meeting all of those standards and going through the proper jurisdictional process. So Carl, when you referred to access or some of your questions regarding how to get to the site, that information and that process will be vetted out through our actual design and permitting process, which wouldn't be until roughly a year from.
Hey, I went through that design and permitting process more than 8 years ago in order to just get some community beds on there. And I had full funding from Home Depot and Valley Hardware. I forget the other company because they already gone out of business. But you guys said you had no money to handle it because the city of Beaverton wanted $30,000 for a water meter in order to get water to the gardens. You had no money whatsoever. I had the whole thing designed and set up. And you're telling, and that only took me less than 3 months. And you're telling me it's going to take another, okay, that was 8 years ago. And that was after the place got bought 12 years ago. And now you're telling me 2025. That's 15 years of getting this thing done. And you act like it's the easiest thing in the world, but you're not going to get it done because you're going to do meetings in places that don't exist. And you want to meet with people who will not show up unless they have confidence that what you're doing is actually going to happen.
Well, Carl, one thing I would really encourage you to look at is that we actually have had a really great success rate for quite a few of our parks that we've actually recently just built with a very similar process. And they have been wonderful additions to the community that they're in. And we've actually heard nothing but kind of speaking of praises for the kind of gems of a new site and a new gathering space that the community can actually be in. And we really hope that through this process, this site will lend itself to be a gem within your community as well. And because of that, that's the process that we go through. And the process that we've seen with the last parks that we've done, it does take roughly about that time frame. The good news is that we do actually have a budget slated for this park at this time. And so I recognize that maybe you mentioned we didn't have the funding some years ago, but now we do. And that's why we're here and we're starting the process and we're pretty excited about it. So I'm looking forward to it. And I look forward to working with you guys as we move through this process.
Well, I think it's fabulous. So great.
Okay, Terry, we will be in touch with you. We'll follow up to set up a time in the new year on the other side of the holidays to try to go tour the neighborhood, find a couple of options, and have you back to the NAC meeting with some information.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but we're scheduled for Monday, right, Liana? Or I mean, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. And Terry can come too if she wants. We're walking around the park on Monday.
Oh, please.
Yeah, and just as a reminder that Ken, this is a meeting that you set up that we're happy to oblige and meet with you with. So if there were another participant that you needed to invite, you know, it's not.
I've already invited the people.
It's not a closed meeting. So, you know.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already got the neighbors that abut, some of the neighbors that abut the park, but there's a bunch of them that I don't know.
Well, I'd be interested in that. So let me know, Kent.
Monday morning, 11 a.m.
All right, at the place.
at the park.
Okay. Cool.
Come on down.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine.
Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
It looks like Todd has his hand up.
Hey, did Juan Carlos Rodriguez ever show up? Metro Councilor, District 4?
Oh, sorry, someone has a question.
Juan Carlos Rodriguez, Metro Councilor, District 4.
Hey, Carl, I'm here, but my last name's not
There he
Rodriguez.
is. Hey, man. All right.
Hey, yeah. I think Todd had his hand up, and also just for the record, my last name's not Rodriguez, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Yeah, just a quick question. Sorry I'm late, everybody. So where's the park that you all were talking about for most
No
of
way,
the
man. You're
THPRD
not-
meeting?
You weren't scheduled here, Knaupp. Sorry.
No, this is off of Pointer Road. You know where Pointer Road is?
All right, thanks.
All right, I'm gonna start my presentation
Oh,
real
I'm
quick.
sorry. I apologize. It's Juan Carlos Gonzalez, right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, sorry. Metro District 4 rep, who is coming to give us an update. And also happens
Yes.
to be up for re-election. Anyway.
That's true, but I'll only talk about the presentation today. Well, hey folks, my name is Juan Carlos Gonzalez, and I represent District 4, North and West Washington County. I've been wrapping up my first term here, but I've served the district since January 2019. And I have a presentation to bring you up to speed on some things. I do have a cutoff close to 8, but I'm gonna race through this and then leave time for Q&A. Let's see, so I wanna start off by talking a little bit about the Supportive Housing Services Measure. The Supportive Housing Services Measure was a historic investment passed by voters in May of 2020 to address the regional homelessness crisis. Essentially, it generated resources for the 3 counties to work together and created resources for Washington County to create a department and a strategic plan and actual resources to address the plan in a way that the county never has before. And it's one of the things that I'm very proud of to have accomplished. we're about 5.5 months into that money. The dollar started flowing to local governments on July 1st, and we've already started housing hundreds of people that are experiencing homelessness, but we know that we have a lot of work to do. There's a definite humanitarian crisis on our streets, and if there's one thing that I've learned about this issue is that it's incredibly complicated, and we have high cost of housing, a lot of barriers to enter housing, and very low vacancy, among many things. This year, the county has opened 3 new shelters, year-round shelters that did not exist before, and is adding significant bed capacity for people that are either sleeping outside or sleeping in their cars or doubling up. We have 1 in Beaverton, 1 at the county fairgrounds, and 1 in Tigard. And for year 1, which would end next July, our goal is to place 2,500 people into permanent housing region wide. So a lot of work there. We also, as you know, passed an affordable housing bond in 2018, which generated resources for the 7 housing authorities in the Portland metro area. We are doing very well with our housing bond. We have 2,300 units in the pipeline right now, including the recent groundbreaking at the Valfrey in Forest Grove. We have a few projects in Beaverton and Hillsborough, 1 in El Monica, South Cooper Mountain. There's a project off Murray, north of 26. And what's amazing about this work is that we're well over halfway towards our progress of the bond, but have only committed 36% of the dollars. So we're over delivering, and we made the goal of spending every dollar within 5 years of the bond passing, because we know that there's a huge need of housing between that 30 to 60% area median income for seniors, people on fixed incomes, young families, people working low income jobs, etc. In terms of parks and nature, y'all folks might also know that there was a nature bond on the ballot in 2019, and we're working on refinement for that. But we did just open a park actually 3 days ago, which is south of Forest Grove near Gaston, named Chehalem Ridge. And it's 1,200 acres of diverse habitat, wildlife. And the first phase of the project is complete, which offers 10 miles of trails. It has a big gazebos and picnic areas, restrooms, all that, the amenities that are required for that, different grades of trails and things like that. And this measure, I was able to work on it from inception to bringing it to the voters, and we really committed to reimagining the way that we invest in parks and conservation regionally. We've really made it a focus to engage with communities that have traditionally not engaged in conservation. My apologies. We have began working with Native communities and also sovereign tribal nations in learning about ancestral practices for the lands. And we've had a lot of really exciting developments in this area. And the majority of the dollars will be released next year and the year after to local providers like THPRD, the city of Beaverton, to continue advancing their system plan. The bond measures and levy for Metro are linked, and I want to talk about the Parks and Nature levy. If y'all know, a bond, it helps you pay for things that you can touch, that that buildings or physical structures, things that will have a lasting physical value, and have some restrictions that make it hard to do other things like programming or improvements, navigation, science programs, all those things that our young kids and people really love when they get to access a metro park. And we have passed 2 levies, and it will expire for us in 2023. And we will be hoping to come back to voters to fund maintenance, operations, programs, all those things I mentioned, not raising taxes, but asking the voters to renew at that level so that we can continue doing this work. We're very early in those stages, and we'll have a series of conversations with folks. One of the things that I really encourage you to do is to sign up for the District 4 newsletter, which you can find on oregonmetro.gov under my profile of the council. And we put out monthly, sometimes twice a month, really important announcements for things that are happening. Let's see, in terms of transportation, this is a really, really significant issue that I'm sure your community feels on the West Slope, but also Washington County in the greater Portland area. We're about to kick off the update of the regional transportation plan. This plan is a tool that guides investments of all forms for goods and people in Portland. And basically the RTP is a list of projects that are approved by the region. And in order to access federal funds, a project needs to be on this list. So, local jurisdictions and community members are constantly working to update and refine projects, continue to elevate the most important projects to make sure that those limited dollars are maximizing the impact that we want to see. And it's a major opportunity. Some of the really exciting things that have happened in the district is we've started a Highway 26 corridor analysis plan, which is about 1.5 miles north and 1.5 miles south of understanding what mobility is like for communities along that, not only east and west, but north and south, depending on where you are. And we'll be kicking off a Highway 217 improvement project very soon. But what makes me very excited is that we've received the Federal Transit Administration HOPE grant to do some significant planning on TB Highway and continue planning that has been going for quite a bit, with plans to bring some critical infrastructure, improve bus service, way more bus shelters, smarter lights and transport and intersections, safer shoulders. I mean, you name it. We're really looking to kick that off, and the goal is to have a bus rapid transit program that connects downtown Forest Grove to downtown Beaverton to Portland, and that's a huge thing. On the west side, Washington County was awarded $12.2 million to build the first phase of the Council Creek Trail, which will connect downtown Forest Grove through downtown Hillsborough through a northern rail line and create a multi-purpose path. And it's one of the things that I'm most excited about because I grew up in Cornelius. Last thing I'll share is that the council recently approved the redistricting map. There's been a little bit of movement, namely in this area on the west between pink and the brown. So my district is the pink one, District 4. And originally that little shaded triangle all the way up until the yellow area was my district. But the pink area has grown significantly faster than any other part of the region, with North Bethany, Cornelius, Forest Grove, and Hillsborough continuing to grow a lot of housing within the urban growth boundary and with some urban growth boundary expansions. And so we needed to move some things around to make sure that we had parity and that each district was as close and the same size as possible. So District 3 will now be, now Canyon Road will be the dividing line between District 3 and District 4. And Councilor Garrett Rosenthal represents District 3.
So we will
right,
still
folks.
be in District 4, correct?
Well, I think that we'll
North of
have,
Canyon Road.
yes, I think so. And there might be portions that are split into both District 3 and District 4. And that was there were a few scenarios that actually brought the Portland district farther west, but we heard really clearly from Beaverton and Washington County that that they felt that a Portland Metro councilor would likely not be able to represent the communities out here as well as the Washington County councilors. So we really tried to make that math work, and I'm really happy about the outcome. And yeah, that map was approved and will be our map moving forward for the next 10 years. So now I'd like to leave it open for questions. And any topic is on the table. I don't have too much time. I'm sorry, I thought I was starting at 7:30, but happy to talk, and thanks for having me.
All right.
Okay, I got one right off the bat. You said 1.5 miles east and west of Highway 217 on 26 is going to get improvements? Or something's
No.
going on there, right? What specifically, are they going to expand it even more? Even though they built that sound wall just 10 years ago?
Yeah, so the mile, the what I was talking about was the scope for a corridor study on Highway 26. There's no construction or kind of anything really happening there. Basically, the counties and Metro are working to understand how transportation patterns are changing due to COVID, with connecting through downtown Portland and through the rest of the interstate system through Highway 26. And there's already a lot of informal movement, people using Cornelius Pass Road to get to Highway 30, people using Burnside Road and Skyline, kind of things that happen informally, but we want to capture in our system plan to better, one of the things that I often hear is how does the west side connect to Portland? Is it Barber Boulevard? Is it Highway 26? Is it Burnside Barnes? And with the economic, propensity of the two regions, there's probably more connection that needs to happen with different modes. And that's what we want to study. As for Highway 217, that was a part of HB 2017, the bill that was here before I started on the council, and they're just going forward with the improvements that have been underway. I don't exactly know the start and the stop area off the top of my mind, so apologize.
Because we've been through it before about transportation problems from specifically our area, West Slope. We cannot access the Max line.
Yeah.
Without, in order to access it, you have to go backwards. You have to drive back into Beaverton in order to get a parking spot and get on a train, because you cannot park your car at the zoo and get on that place. We've been requesting, well, at least I have over the years, to get our own parking spots up there, just allocate 10 or 20 parking spots for somebody to take the train and go downtown. Okay, and then now I just heard from TriMet recently is that the only bus line we have going out of Beaverton coming through our area up Canyon Road 58 is being cut back, due to driver shortage.
Yep.
And so that's going to make put a pretty significant dent on people's ability to get around. We would like to have the TriMet accessibility improved, but I don't know if that's within your realm.
I would love that too. I would love nothing more than that. And it's something that we worked on with the transportation measure in 2020, which was not successful. It was on the November ballot. And we heard a lot of clear feedback from voters and from stakeholders. And I think a thing that people in general are asking for is a clear vision on mobility and offering an integrated network of options. And the truth is that, communities on the west side don't have a wealth of options. We, like you mentioned, we have, the Max, maybe a bus line that comes, if you're lucky, every 15 minutes. If you're not, 30 minutes to an hour. That's something that I really want to focus on, and I think is an important part of how our region addresses the urbanization that we're experiencing, how we address climate change. And most importantly, I just think that, we just need more options. So I appreciate that feedback, but I'm working on it. And I think there is an opportunity with some of these federal dollars through the Infrastructure and Jobs Act to hopefully catalyze some larger investments. And there are some ideas out there, but just got to get the dollars and the energy behind them. I think I see Dan. I'm sorry, I can't see names right now.
Am I on now?
Yes, Todd, sorry.
So Councilor Carlos, so as the District 4 councilor, what projects are you in charge of? What things does the buck stop with you on for Metro? Or if it's not set up that way, how is it set up? And which projects are moving forward and physically doing things that all these tens of millions of dollars have been passed for that aren't in the study stage? Discussion with county and city people and talking around the table and just asking people's opinions.
Yeah, for sure. I try to list a few with the affordable housing bond. So Washington County has been stellar in terms of actually spending the money that voters approved. And I think that it's been much slower at the city of Portland and Multnomah County. I think that it's definitely challenging for them for multiple reasons, but we have a huge number of projects. We have, like I mentioned, multiple in Beaverton that are either, we actually are about to open in a few months one of the projects in Tigard, and we're going to have people living there. That was funded with the 2018 bond. We have that's the Viewfinder. We have the Marianne. We have projects in Forest Grove. We have a project at Monica Station. And that's done in partnership with the Housing Authority of Washington County. Metro doesn't build housing, but we work with the housing authorities. And to answer your question, like where does the buck stop with me? It depends on the regional committee assignments that you get on the council. And so I serve on JPAC, which is a regional transportation committee. So we work on the big mega projects, I-5, the Rose Quarter, I-205, congestion pricing, those big crunchy ones that are on the news frequently. And the supportive housing services measure, which I mentioned some of the shelters that we're opening, and making sure that we're housing people and addressing the homelessness crisis in the affordable housing bond, I would say are some of the most important things that we've been working on in this last year. And I think that we're starting to see some progress.
There's one more question. Thanks. I was wondering, TriMet's run by themselves, right? They govern themselves, but how much influence and how much counseling do they do in coordination with Metro, since you're a much larger and even more powerful organization, tax-funded organization than TriMet is?
Yeah, so TriMet doesn't govern themselves. They have a board that's appointed by the governor. So they do have a leadership that they respond to. But I would say that TriMet and Metro work very closely together. TriMet works on the operations, and Metro does the long range planning and does the fund, basically helps find the money to build the big projects. And that's the relationship that we have. They serve on many of our committees. And this example of the transportation measure, if you want to look up a little bit about what went into that, the Get Moving 2020 measure, I think is a really good example of how we work with TriMet. At the end of the day, they are an independent agency, but we work very closely with them, and our staff are working with them almost every day to make sure that service and long range plans are working. The grant, the federal grant that I was talking about earlier for TV Highway with the BRT, TriMet is one of the main project partners on that, and that's just one of many examples of arterials and corridors and system plans for our region system.
So you're saying TriMet is run by a board, and these board members are selected by the governor or her officers, so that's who's running TriMet? Just so I know who's
Yes.
the person who's responsible for that.
Yes, and Washington County does have a representative on that board. And when the governor appoints that person, it's not done in a vacuum. They work with the county commissioners, with the Metro councilor, to find someone that has a good head on their shoulders that can represent the people of this area. So you are correct in that answer. Terry?
Let me jump in. And I'm going to ask you to put on your Parks and Trail hat now.
Okay.
We are isolated in a number of ways. We are isolated from the city of Beaverton because the only connection, either by foot or by bicycle largely, is down Canyon Road, and it's not an avenue that's conducive to pedestrians or bicycles.
That's
and
right.
yet, you know, Beaverton is doing a magnificent job of trying to, you know, get their downtown area a real activity center, and they want, you know, their residents to come, you know, to not drive. And so we're trying to, my question is there any regional wherewithal that could help partner with some of the other local agencies to try to do some more connection of neighborhoods to what are activity centers? And in our case, it would be West Slope and the city of Beaverton.
Yeah, I mean, with the big parks and nature bond dollars, for projects that happen in the urban area, we really rely on our partners, THPRD, the city of Beaverton, to you know, have a strong list of projects and, you know, that willingness to work with community. Mostly because, you know, in some ways it doesn't make sense for Metro to come in and kind of skip all those levels of that government. But what I will say is that through the Parks and Nature Bond, there are grant programs that neighborhood associations and neighbors can apply for to kick off planning for grants and programs. You know, I've seen this happen in Gresham. I've seen it happen at Rockwood. I've seen it happen in Oregon City. And there are definitely grants where people that, you know, if you want to explore a concept and bring your neighbors together, I mean, if you really want to take it to that next step, you're going to need the planners, you're going to need the engineers, you're going to need to have a connection to something. But, you know, I work really closely with the mayor of Beaverton, and I know the THPRD directors really well. And, you know, what I would say is if there's a, you know, like some corridor, some road, or you need improved sidewalks or something, if there's an area, you know, like I'm sure there are. You're very passionate leaders.
Sidewalk, not just some.
Yeah.
We want just one bloody sidewalk.
I hear you, man. I'm like fighting tooth and nail for sidewalks all over. And Canyon Road TV is a perfect example of that. And you know, that's been what I've been beating the drum on every single day since I joined. The 19 miles from where Canyon Road ends at 26 Sylvan all the way to downtown Forest Grove has been neglected by ODOT. And we need some significant investment improvement because the function is not working for how urbanized these communities are. So anyway,
Yeah,
I appreciate your question.
Yeah, and you know, a large part of that area is unincorporated Washington County, which of course always complicates
Another
things,
huge
'cause then
issue,
you have
yeah.
to throw in another jurisdiction to. Anyway, it's been an ongoing issue, but it is Canyon Road. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I'm sorry, but I need to get going. Are there any last questions or comments? More than happy to answer.
No, can we see you again in a few months?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate your time. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, good. Well, I don't know. Who's still on? Kent, Dieter?
I'm here.
Station 65 is still there. Wow. I guess he's pretty interested. All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm trying to figure out if that's a quorum or not. Who else is left? Jerry Denton,
We're
Ken,
missing.
Wolfgang, and isn't who else?
Chris,
Hey, what's up? I think we have a quorum. So there's Dieter. Hey. Oh, and Chris. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
still, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 would still be a quorum if Kent's here to vote and Dieter's here to vote. I want to kick Ken Wolfgang out of his job. I'm tired of dealing with the treasurer. He has done a really bad job, and we haven't seen him in over a year. So goodbye. I mean, come on, you got to make at least one meeting every couple of months, but you can't just blow off a whole year, especially, you know, you can't use the COVID excuse because we're on, you know, Zoom meeting. Okay, I move that Ken Wolfgang is no longer our treasurer.
Well, do we have a substitute or replacement?
Well, I had to take over the recorder's job when Jack had to quit because of health issues. And I didn't have to do it anymore because everything's recorded right now. I don't have to record meetings anymore. YouTube does it for us.
Oh, is that right? Oh, good.
So Dieter, would you want to be a treasurer?
twist my arm. Sure, I do it.
I think you'd be a good treasurer.
That remains to be seen, but I can make more meetings than the other guy. Promise that.
Looks great on your resume, man.
Well, I
Fantastic.
nominate Dieter Loibner as our future treasurer,
I'll
2022.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Excellent. Good job.
I'm calling from beyond the state line. So if I had my hands on the money, I could be making off with it right
Oh,
now.
man, there's so much money there. You could make it almost
Sure there is.
California.
Yeah.
Maybe. But you have to stop in Canyon City first and go double or nothing.
All right. I guess I see some of you on Monday at 11 at the Pointers Park.
Are you coming too?
I will be there. Believe me, I will be there. Because
Wow.
I ride my bicycle by there once or twice a week, if not more often. So I want to see what the hubbub is all about.
Oh, yeah.
It's about 3 of us.
Pull in on Kent Slack's driveway and you'll see what everything's going on.
Yeah, don't go there.
Excuse me, the private road.
The private easement right away.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it'll be very interesting. I haven't decided. I don't know if I'm gonna go.
Huh?
So Juan Carlos seems he's a nice guy. Seems
Yeah.
on top of things.
Yeah, if he can get us a sidewalk, man, that will immortalize him.
Dream on, man.
All right.
And the THPRD gals are going to be there Monday, right? Both of them, Nicole and Liana.
They're both going to be there. Yeah.
All right. And Terry's going to be there as well.
Why not?
Yeah, we'll show some force.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I
Plus
buy some
two.
tea and donuts, but they still owe me from 2 years ago. I'm
That's
not
right.
kidding, man. The guys are tight. City of Beaverton's very tight. Matching funds, it was only $22. And they said, oh yeah, no problem. That's been approved and nothing. Okay, so next month, just to give you some heads up, I've got next month so far I've got this guy Chris Ezekian, who is the City of Beaverton guy that's building the new Research Center, RESER.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Research Center for the Performing Arts, which is going on downtown. he's running that project, so he's gonna give us a nice update on that. And
That's good.
in February, I've got the mayor,
Woohoo!
Yeah.
so I'm set for a couple of months.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anybody else have any suggestions? I got plenty of room.
Yeah. Carl, I don't know. Did you get Chris Swensson's email about the West Suburban Athletic Field expansion and the update?
No, I haven't. Did he send it out tonight?
No, it was a couple days ago.
no, I
Apparently,
didn't
there
get
is
it.
some movement.
Can you forward that to me?
Yeah, I can. So,
Okay.
in a nutshell, the Lincoln remodel is coming in under budget, and they have extra money to spend on athletic fields. And the principal, Peyton Chapman, is all over it. So this looks like this is going to be going forward pretty soon.
Wait a minute. So
So-
the funding is gonna be to fix up the Lincoln fields.
Yeah, but they said they are under budget, so they can spend it
So they
on
still got the West Sylvan Middle School on the budget as well?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let me read that letter quickly to you guys. It's gonna take a couple of minutes if we have the time.
That's okay.
So that's from Peyton Chapman, the principal of Lincoln High School. Dear Lincoln High School community, we're excited to be in conversation with the PPS Office of School Modernization, PPS Athletics, and Central Office Leadership regarding how we can move forward to add field space to support athletics as part of the Lincoln Rebuild Project, guided by the PPS education specifications, and the attached letter from operations outlines the process. The path was originally explored in 1920 when we worked with PPS project managers, PPS Athletics, and our K-12 field team stakeholders to examine the field improvements at West Sylvan. Note that there was no mention of the residents of the neighborhood. I just say. Thank you, everyone, PPS staff and community stakeholders who came and testified before Beaverton City Council on behalf of this multi-phase project. Unfortunately, the project was delayed by neighborhood concerns, which were addressed via an appeals process. While this delay increased costs and reduced the hours the field could be used, the project still has a path forward. The goal for the whole modernization project is to come in under budget, which will become clearer as the main building nears completion. The Lincoln High School Steering Committee can then make recommendations about how to use any remaining savings, which could include field improvements at West Sylvan and requires board approval. Improvements would expand the number of fields available for Lincoln High School athletes in the future. We are all in agreement that whenever possible, PPS should look for opportunities to improve fields. While Lincoln is landlocked, the West Sylvan site is within the Lincoln cluster and accessible via public transportation and/or PIL vans when those become available. We hope to secure PPS board support for this work. This would not only provide Lincoln athletes field space, but also reduce the need for Lincoln High School's teams to use other schools' fields and increase the ability for Lincoln to host events for PPS school teams across the Portland Interscholastic League, reducing the burden on other host schools. Adding a field at any school helps all of PIL athletics. So that is the thrust of this letter. So they are looking to get this thing underway, and they're going to shower us with many more teams and many more people who leave trash and block people's driveways when they are parking right down West Slope Drive. So what I'm saying, Carl, is if we can make another effort to get somebody from PPS or at least the principal of West Sylvan Middle School to weigh in on how they intend to, manage the ongoing traffic problems, which we at this meeting haven't addressed because nobody seems to have brought it up. But also, what our time frame is for the field expansion. When the construction is going to start, etc.
Okay. Because I just spoke with her a few months ago.
Yeah, so maybe I'm going to send around this letter to the board members, and so you have something in hand that you can bring forward and say, hey, we'd like to get some clarity, and at least maybe January or February at one of those meetings that somebody would care to talk to us about this.
Okay. TPS, so I'm gonna have to figure out which particular person, or it could be the principal herself.
Yeah.
She's very amenable, and I think
Yeah.
she would probably come and do it. But
Are you thinking the principal of West Sylvan? Is that who you're
Yeah,
thinking of, Carl?
yeah, but there's got to be somebody higher up at PPS that we might be
Yeah.
able to get as well. Somebody that, the design and development department or whatever.
Yeah, that athletic division.
You're right.
Right.
That's why at some of our meetings, when we were all talking about this in the cafeteria at the middle school, there was coaches showing up, that were,
Yep.
acting like they were proponents of this whole thing. And it turns out they were the coaches of the kids that want to make sure their kids keep playing, et cetera, which is, it's okay, I guess. But they were acting like they were, local citizens who were concerned, but
Right.
that wasn't the case. Anyway, so yeah, okay, yeah, this one's gonna be interesting.
Well, maybe
so-
Chris has an idea of a good person.
Yeah, his kid is at Lincoln High School, so he said that this was sent. Let me say, it was sent a week ago, and so he is also concerned about the ramifications, because if that really he had shared it with you, Terry, but for some reason Carl is not on here, so I'll just forward the whole shebang, and then you guys can take a read and proceed accordingly, because I do feel it's about time for PPS and or just the principal of West Sylvan, because she clearly will have to deal with a lot of the on the ground realities one way or another. So
Well,
it would be nice to have him.
I thought that maybe they got the funding in order just to go ahead and just fix it at the Lincoln High School level by now, instead of having to deal with this whole thing, which was going to be a side fix using the middle school fields, which is what they had in mind 2 years ago. But now I bet you they got some of that funding that THPRD got out of the blue, 3.5 million, whereas they couldn't afford 30,000 just a couple of years ago. So I thought maybe they would get a drop in the bucket as well, and that would enable them. And they've had the time in order to, because the kids aren't, the kids were studying away from school. What better time than to improve your facilities and upgrade everything when there's no kids around? Anyway,
So I just forward that to you, Carl, and to Kent. So.
Well, I'm on Zoom, so I can't switch over, but I'll get it.
No, just but you'll have it in your inbox, so we can then proceed.
Okie doke.
Good. All right. That was my contribution for tonight.
I think that's great. We ought to have them. Because I mean, the tenor of the letter is such, those neighborhood people,
Unfortunately, we had the nerve to
those
push
people.
back. Yeah, and I still believe that there should be a lot more consideration for handling the trash and the noise and the parking. So hopefully we'll get some more people rousing from their complacency and at least attend these meetings and start asking some questions.
Yeah,
I agree.
Good. Well.
All right.
Thank you,
Old
Dieter.
business becomes new business, I guess.
it never fades away.
All right, well, as long as we still got a quorum, any old news? Any new news? Thought I had something. Oh, no, actually, everything's been pretty cool in our neighborhood lately. I haven't seen any tagging.
Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
And then the house next door to me is almost done. Yay. Okay. All right. I move that we adjourn. Second?
I second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Yes,
Aye.
Yes,
yes.
happy holidays.
Yeah,
Merry
same to
Christmas.
you.
Thank you.
See you
Elena.
Monday.